Well, this is my latest experiment. I thought I was done with this. It's the funniest thing. When you think you're done, you're just beginning on a new vista. I have here my earthing pillowcase. You can see the wires, the threads, the silver wires. And I have it connected with two connections, two wires here. The yellow goes to my circuit and the white goes to the grounding rod outside my window, planted in the earth, my own separate independent grounding rod, independent of the outlets, independent of the electrical system of the building, independent of that. So what I did was, this is the most uncanny thing, I disconnected the foot connection. I took away the earthing foot pad and disconnected the because I disconnected the wire. Let's see if I can show you. So there's the end of the wire right here. And that wire goes, and the red, of course, is positive. And the other side, I think, is green. That's the non-positive, which would make it the negative. And of course, so, and that, let's see if I can see a good picture image of that. Just see the green leading from the green wire. Oh, then it turns yellow, and then it goes up to the connection up there, which is yellow. All right. So I have negative at the head, and I had positive at the feet, because this is that time of the year where everything is contrary. I'm doing everything contrary to what's normal, and what it means is, when Mark McKay called his idea of the EV gray motor a push-pull situation, I didn't quite understand the significance of that. Well, push means you're pushing electrons. Pull means you're pulling them. It means that it's either predominantly, if it's push, it's predominantly negative, and if it's pull, it's predominantly positive. That's what I have. I have my positive, Oh no. Gee, if I have negative connected to the feet, then it's a push, isn't it? Oh dear. Well, that's right, it would be a push. Unless we go back to the way the schematic of a diode is, in which there's this other presumption, the presumption of this other energy that counteropposes so-called electricity by going in the opposite direction. And it would then be, instead of electrons, it would be, what do you call it? I don't know, protons. I don't know, positrons? No, they're called positrons. Yeah, that's right. It would be positrons. So it's a push of positron. No? Let's see. If it's positive going to the head. No, let's see. If it's negative going to the head. Oh, it is negative going to the head. That's right. Yeah, normally you don't put negative to the head. Okay. So I have negative going to the head, which means I'm pushing electrons, but I'm pulling positrons. And I have to say it that way because A, the physicists' theory of electricity is backwards nomenclature since the 1800s, and they never corrected themselves. When they knew they were 50 years deep into the opposite nomenclature, namely, instead of calling the electron the positron. They called it the electron and gave it the negative value because they thought it was the passive component of the atom. Now then they realized, oops, no, it's the active, which makes it yang, positive, not negative, active, not passive. So electron means passive, and proton means, protagonist. You're active rather than passive. So, because the proton sits passively in the center of the atom, right? So they had their nomenclature backwards. Well, it turns out it doesn't matter because if the electron is paired with the positron, they're both active. Except for the sign value is wrong. The electron we call negative when it should be positive, see? And we would have called it the positron. Anyway. So this time of the year, let's see. So if I connect negative to the head rather than positive, that means I'm negative to the head. I'm pulling positrons. Now the head would be the most important part of the physiology. So maybe us thinking we got the nomenclature backwards is actually a good mistake instead of the wrong mistake. It's the right mistake. You leave it to the intellect to get everything backwards. Yeah, I'm beginning to think it was the right mistake because the head is the most important part of the body. Why? It's the root of the physiology. It's the root of consciousness, not the feet, not the tailbone where the Muladhara chakra and the sleeping serpent kundalini is located. No, because everything comes from above, and that's the crown chakra, the root of creation, the source of creation, which is beyond the crown chakra, but the crown chakra is closest to that, not the Muladhara chakra, which is furthest from it. Anyway, the idea here is that, so I have my head grounded to the earth and connected to the negative lead of the circuit, and the positive lead is disconnected down below. You saw the red lead. And that, if I had the foot connection connected, it would be opposite to normal. At this time of the year, it's supposed to be inverted. According to Becker, Dr. Robert O. Becker's schematic of the polarity of the physiology, the voltage gradient of the physiology, the voltage mapping, positive at the head, negative at the feet, and opposite to Leon Ernest Demon, who said the same thing, that the head is positive and the feet is negative by comparison to each other. Well, when you create a relaxation circuit according to the cooperative healing or biocircuitry of Leon Ernest Demon, you connect opposite. But when you deal with a battery-oriented circuit, I learned from experience, you do the opposite of that to create relaxation, normal relaxation, in which you mirror. You mirror what you're doing rather than do the opposite. But then I learned that you have to turn things around half of the year, because between the summer solstice and the winter solstice, the adversity of life confronts us, which is not normal, right? We want everything to be on the up. We don't want it on the down, right? Well, this is that time of the year where everything is on the down, the waning sun. The other time of the year, it's the waxing sun. The days are getting longer, but now the days are getting shorter. And so it's the waning sun. It's the lunar path, as Charlie Lutz called it. If you die this time of the year, you go the path of the moon in the afterlife, which is not, it's inferior, it's not ideal. But I thought to myself to be natural and do everything in concert with the cycles of nature. So I thought, okay, I'll invert the circuit. And then I'll take what's considered the spin of this representative of the spin direction of the Earth and reverse it so that my convex mirrors attached to my ceiling fan blades, as you can barely see them here, are spinning in a direction opposite to the spin of the Earth. I'm north of the equator here, and so if this were positioned exactly under the North Pole as to help conceptualize what's going on, assuming the Earth is round and not flat, this would be contrary, in opposition to the spin direction of the Earth. Okay? So everything is contrary this time of the year. Well, in disconnecting the feet, what I've done is I've made the head the most significant area of the body, and that means that I have, let's see, now what did I have? I had positive at the feet, so I have negative at the head. That means I'm pulling positrons. Okay? Well, what am I doing up here? Aren't I pulling against what would normally be the direction of the spin of the Earth instead of pushing? Because it's subtractive, not additive, see? This is the time of the year to prune our behavior, our psychology, because I've got everything set up here, the sleep circuit and the etheric engineering circuit, backwards to what should be, everything on the up and up. I've got it on the down and down, because it's a time of year to prune. It's a time of year to consolidate our resources. It's a time of year to focus. It's a time of year to draw in the limbs of the turtle. And so it's no small wonder that I started adding. Now it should be no small wonder that I'm adding beeswax to my food in very small quantity, hiding it in the cheese sauce at the moment. Because Charlie said the gods of Venus brought to the earth wheat, bees, and ants. Bees, the honeybees. Bees and ants. To help humanity with, how did he put it? Withdraw our hand back unto ourself. Because we're always reaching and grabbing, right? We want to do this, we want to do that. It's our desire. We want to want more. And for ourselves and our loved ones, even for our enemies, we want more destruction for our enemies, right? We keep wanting more, but this is the time of year to want less, to withdraw the hand back to the self, so that we want less rather than more. And it's a time, in a sense, of letting go, basically. Okay? It's really the time of the path of yoga, because we're withdrawing our hand back to ourself, and that would be revolver, to return to the self, which of course what religion is all about. So I guess the Jews had it right, sort of right. They should have put their beginning of their calendar on the summer solstice. Instead they put it on the fall equinox, in the middle of the period. Except I won't get into that. I don't know how to analyze that. Anyway, so I disconnected the feet. So I've got a one-ended circuit, which has a parallel connection, one going to the earth and one going to the head of the body. Actually, it's a triple parallel circuit, and one going to the negative connection of the circuit underneath my bed, which has a AA battery and 66 count 100 mega ohm resistors, making 6.6 giga ohms of resistance. Okay? But there's no current because I disconnected the circuit. It's an open circuit. But it's still a circuit. It's still connected to the body. I like to tell people that earthing is the simplest Tesla circuit, his single wire circuit that he made himself, to us, famous for. Because it's just a piece of wire connecting the body as we sleep to the earth. But here I have a circuit with a battery and resistors, which I went to the trouble of building. And it's more useful connected to the body with only one end connected to the body and the other end left dangling than to connect both ends to the body, one to either side, either end of the body, the head versus the feet or the head versus the pelvic region. Because it actually works better. Because I know this sounds screwy, but nothing in this technology that we're studying about electricity makes sense right? This new idea of electricity makes normal logical sense from the standpoint of what we've been taught in our educational system and our common sense. This is beyond common sense, what Maharishi would call special sense. It goes beyond. It goes beyond simple style of reasoning, which would be to assume a flow. Yet, when you're having a tug-of-war, there's no flow unless somebody wins or loses. But if you're equally weighted, like an arm wrestle, everybody, both people are struggling, but their arms are not moving. They're vibrating, with desire. They're pregnant with desire. But nobody's winning or losing, right? If I won, right? Or if I lost, but instead it's in the middle, and it's, and we're both grunting and Well, that's a kind of an oscillation, except it doesn't move. It's a non-moving oscillation, filled with the potential of energy to go one way or the other. But it doesn't. It just stays put in one place. The net result is it stays put. Yet there is motion there. So, I think I stained my bed sheet. Not with what you think. I'm dealing with MSM at the moment because I have an inflamed penis. MSM salve. I'm putting a salve on my penis. Works pretty good. Let's see. Well, it's inflamed because I put too much silver hydroperoxide on it, and it burned it, so I'm experimenting. Anyway. So I have a situation in which I have a one-wire circuit, not just a one wire to the earth, but one wire underneath my bed. And now the battery will really last. It'll get old, but I certainly am not going to drain it. If I had both connections connected, I'd be draining it at the rate of 200 picowatts, whatever per joule or whatever it is per second, or I don't know. But it's not even doing that. So you see what I'm describing here is something that's very interesting, and you know what? It feels right. It's such a relief to get current out of the situation. And so what I did in that circuit was I reduced the current as far as I could in any practical sense by stringing 66 resistors together, and I didn't want to bother doing more. Although I tried. I can't show you because it's buried, but I tried to go for 100, but I never bothered to finish it. And I got those resistors partially strung together off, buried somewhere in my equipment over here. And I never went through with it because I figured, well, I got one underneath the bed and it's working out pretty good, so why make improvements? It's good enough. Well, here I go and disconnect one end of the circuit, and it's really good. But it's very telling which side I disconnect, and the remaining side that's connected, which one is it? It's the same one as when both sides were connected, meaning the orientation remains the same, but it's important which side remains connected, the head. So, I just did this out of convenience because I figured my feet flop all over the place, right? And my head is in one place where the pillow is. So, but isn't that the way a tree is? The root of the tree is stuck in one place, or let's say a grass blade, a blade of grass. But the blade of grass blows in the wind. Now, when anybody talks in terms of yoga, the chakras of the physiology, you have to imagine the body is doing a headstand, in which the head is sitting on the earth, and the feet are pointing up to the sky, and they're the leaves of the grass, or the leaves of the tree blowing in the wind, while the head is the root, rooted in the earth, and the earth is the absolute. You see, and the roots of the tree is the crown chakra. So this has always been the symbolism of the chakras of the spinal column. The standard major chakras, not the minor ones that Leon Ernest Damon had us connecting, namely, as well as two he selected from the spinal column the throat chakra and the Muladhara chakra. But he had the right hand, the left hand, the right foot, the left foot, the right ear, the left ear, although he didn't use the ears and the feet. He crossed your feet to short circuit them, and he ignored the ears. And he just considered the ears and the throat to be just one big agglomeration of the head chakra. But I always used all 8. I made the distinction, and it worked superbly, because I would connect my right ear with my right foot and my left ear with my left foot, because everything right to left is swapped in our wiring above the neck, not only our nervous system, but also our pathway, our subtle energy pathways that Leon Ernest Damon was dealing with, very much like acupuncture or dowsing, because he did become a dowser. Doing the biocircuitry does train the physiology to become more sensitive and become more like a dowsing physiology. Trust me, that was my experience. So here we have a situation in which my intuition is advising me, and on a hunch, to disconnect one end of my circuit, that side of the feet, merely out of convenience. That was my rationale, and now I see it was the right way to do it. Because I need to keep my head grounded to the earth. Forget the feet, they're not important. It's the head that has to be grounded to the earth, and it has to be the right polarity of this augmentation circuit that I have, the sleep circuit, augmenting the situation underneath my bed for each time of the year. And that means negative of my circuit goes to the head, which sends positrons to the head, as opposed to electrons pushing positrons to the head. Am I saying that right? No. I have negative going to the head, which is actually pulling positrons. I'm sorry. I'm pulling positrons, just like I'm pulling back on the correct spin of the earth. I'm subtracting rather than adding. I'm pulling. It's as if the earth is, it's as if this were bigger and more massive than the earth, it would be slowing down the spin of the earth, because the gravitational mass of this would compete with the gravitational mass of the planet and pull it backwards, slow it down, create a slowing influence. Okay? Right now, the earth is speeding this up, fighting the electric motor, because the earth is more massive than this tiny little lightweight ceiling fan. But in any case, it's in a competitive mode. But if this were more massive, and that's the whole point of having it here, is so that the concentrated influence right over me is slightly pulling on the spin of the earth to pull it backwards rather than push it forwards. That's what I mean by push-pull. So push is the protagonism, pull is the antagonism. So everything here is antagonistic to normalcy, because it's the lunar path, the path of the moon. The path, the left-hand path, as Charlie Lutz talked about it. The left-hand path. In yoga, there's the right-hand path and the left-hand path. The right-hand path is conformity to social norms. The left-hand path is anti-establishment. Okay? Charlie would make a joke sometimes. He'd go to, when he was in India with Maharishi, he'd go into a restaurant and he'd see Westerners dressed in dhotis, and they'd exclaim to each other, because he always dressed in a business suit. And in those days, when he would tell this story, it usually was a triple-breasted business suit. And, he always came that way to the meetings, the Friday night lectures. And later on, I was encouraged to wear just similarly. So I had white pants, I had a blue blazer, a tie, a dress shirt, shaven face. And so he walks in, and so one of the Westerners dressed in a dhoti says to their friend, "Oh, shit," something like that. "Oh, crap. We go to this extreme to come to this end of the planet to leave everything behind, and look, it comes and follows us." So here they're going the left-hand path, because they were born in the Western culture, And, Maharishi wanted all the TM teachers to wear business suits when they, to dress up when they teach people, to look normal according to their culture and not be contrary and not be a hippie. Because that's what hippies do. They're anti-establishment. They do what's opposite. Well, that's okay this time of the year. The other time of the year, between the winter solstice and the summer solstice, we're supposed to be doing the same as what everybody else. We're supposed to be acting in concert with our environment and add to it rather than subtract. So there's a time and a place for everything. Turn, turn, turn. There is a season, right? That little phrase is from Ecclesiastes, which is where that song comes from, that turn, turn, turn song, which blew me away when I discovered that when I was a teenager. It's like, whoa, the Bible's a source of hip songs. And in Ecclesiastes, we also have Let It Be, which of course is a phrase of several songs, or a few, one of which, of course, Paul McCartney made famous with Let It Be. But there's another one I discovered. I forgot. I didn't commit to memory what the other pop song was, which is not as popular as Paul McCartney's rendition of Let It Be. So this is the latest development of the sleep circuit, and it was so uncanny. I'm getting such good results. And I'm thinking, is it all in my mind? Of course it is, because I've I've eliminated amperage. It's zero. I'm not passing any amperage. So now the circuit is completely ergonomic. It's completely biosafe. Because there's absolutely no amperage that it's sending through the body. Absolutely none. So if I had, 200 pico amps before now I got zero. And I can't even measure the voltage because I don't have 2 points to compare. Yet, that doesn't mean it's not there. It's just a different way. See, this is the simplistic way to isolate that radiant energy that Tesla was seeking. And it's so simplistic that you can't expect to run any kind of power-oriented machinery, which Tesla did succeed at doing, and Eric Dollard, and, all these other guys, and maybe some gals, who've worked on replicating Tesla's ideology. So you can't expect that, but the intelligence is there, even if the creative power is missing. But the yin aspect of yang yin, the intelligence, is what I'm setting up here. Programming the physiology to think that it is connected to the radiant energy without the actuality of anything powerful coming from that in any kind of active sense. And you know what? That's appropriate, because when we ground ourselves to the earth on a single wire, we're doing the same thing. We are programming the physiology to think that it's connecting to radiant energy, Tesla's radiant energy. And that's exactly why sleeping in an earthing circuit, in a grounded circuit, grounded to the earth, is more advantageous than grounding if we had a choice between grounding ourselves at night when we sleep versus in the daytime when we're active, they always say, well, do it at night, because that's where the benefit really is when we're grounded when we sleep. But grounded, you're not mobile. We're like a plant. We planted our head in the dirt and our feet are now pointing upwards, and we're not going anywhere because we're sleeping. So it's amazing the parallelisms in describing the situation here. This is exactly right. It might be self-fulfilling, Maybe I just want to say it this way to make myself feel good. But you know what? What if I'm on the mark? What if this is the way to augment the earthing circuit? Now, when I tried to sell to Marty Zucker my idea of amplifying the grounding experience with an invention I had provisionally patented over at earthinglife.info, he said there's no market for it. They have enough trouble trying to sell earthing, let alone an augmentation or enhancement of the earthing experience. Well, here's another one. I didn't even try to create one. I assumed that the sleeping circuit was strictly a replication, or a blending actually, a replication of a blending of Leon Ernest Eamon's biocircuitry and cooperative healing, blended with Dr. Robert O. Becker's healing circuitry, for augmenting regeneration of the physiology as opposed to healing, because the amperage is pushed down and the voltage is kept up. So I got 1.5 volts in my circuit, although now I don't have any. So I've really transcended Becker. It's become a Tesla circuit, a Teslonian Becker circuit. It's transcended Becker. But here's another way to augment the earthing circuit, because in theory, I could dispense with the head connection and return to an earthing sheet that covers the whole bed. But by doing it this way, it's actually more ideal, because only the head is grounded, not the rest of the body. And only at this time of the year, the positive side of the sleep circuit underneath my bed is connected to the head. And only the head is connected to the earth, not the feet, not the rest of the body. So I've done the ideal of grounding between this and this, because I have it in a way that's actually more evolved. So I should send Marty this link, a link to this video, because this is just phenomenal. This just blows me away. This is the blessings of Saraswati. You don't even try to learn, and you learn anyway. Hey, I got nothing else better to do. I don't have Kyle to teach, so I teach myself, and I share it with all you guys and gals. Right? That's what learning is for: is to share what we've learned, so that we all can benefit or be entertained. Maybe you think, "Oh, that's amusing, Vinny." Next, turn the channel. Next video. Whatever. However you want to take this. It's entirely up to you.